Good afternoon. The Monday, July 14th Planning Board of the City of Panama City is now in order. Please take the roll.
Board Member Carroll.
Here.
Board Member Stamps.
Here.
Board Member Barker. Absent. Board Member Rich.
Here.
Chairman Newbauer.
Here. Are there any announcements or any changes or deletions to the agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there are. So we received a correspondence from the applicant for the first item. That would be item 6A, the 1814 Mound Avenue variance request. They're requesting the item be continued to the August Planning Board meeting, and staff recommends that the board grant that.
Okay. Yes. All right. Are there any announcements or disclosures by board members?
I spoke to Mr. Anderson about one of the agenda items with the dock. I believe it's.
But Mr. Rich, thank you. You and I spoke about this earlier. Let's do that at the time of that hearing so we can keep it all contemporaneous for that. Okay. But any of the others that we have, only because that one's got a few more moving parts to it than our typical quasi judicial. So if there's any others that you have announcements to make to this, except that one, you can do that now. Should have told you that earlier.
No worries. All right. Anyone else? Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the June meeting?
Motion approved.
Second.
I have a motion to second. Please take roll.
Board Member Carroll.
Yes.
Board Member Stamps.
Yes.
Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Chairman Newbauer.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
All right. Now I'm going to go over the procedure for quasi judicial hearings. Step 1, public hearing announced, introduction of application by staff. 2, ex parte communication disclosure by board members. 3, identification of the applicant and affected parties that intend to participate in the hearing. Affected parties that only intend to make a statement may do so at the public participation part of the agenda. An affected party means any person or entity that will suffer an adverse effect and interest protected by or furthered by the ULDC, including interests related to health and safety, police and fire protection, service systems, densities or intensities of development, transportation facilities, healthcare facilities, equipment or services, and environmental or natural resources. The alleged adverse interest may be stated in common with other members of the community at large, but must exceed and agree the general interest in community good shared by all persons. Now I'll have counsel swear any witnesses that wish to make a statement.
So all of the items on the agenda today are quasi judicial proceedings. So if you intend to speak on something on the agenda this morning, or this afternoon rather, you would need to stand now and raise your right hand and be sworn in. So do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you'll give in these matters will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you. When you come to the podium to speak on your matter, if you'll state your name and address for the record and that you have been sworn. And as you may have heard me say just a moment ago, most of the every one of the items on the agenda is a quasi-judicial proceeding today. The last one on the agenda has a lot of evidence and already it's been submitted to us. And so we're going to be, because of the number of people and the time that might be allotted in that one, we're going to follow the rules a little more strictly than we typically do. The preceding matters will take our more relaxed approach that we usually take. Okay?
Thank you. Start with item letter B.
Item B is case number CPC PLN 2025-0694. It's an application for a rezoning. The owner and applicant is Gennaro Medrano, and it is located at 1410 Wilmot Avenue. The owner has requested that the parcel be rezoned to neighborhood general to accommodate for space for long-term rentals.
Thank you. Any questions for board, for staff? Is the applicant here to speak on this item?
My name is Tony Medrano, 1026 Pearson Drive. Wanted to see if you guys could probably help me out to put a long-term living in that old church. There's nothing there. Beautiful homes right in front, and hopefully we can match that in the neighborhood.
Sir, you were sworn in earlier.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any questions, sir?
I see the reference to a quadplex. Is it meant to be four units within the
Yes, sir.
building?
Yes, sir. in the same building. The same, that building is 2,950 square foot, same foundations, just dividing it into pieces.
Are there multiple buildings on the parcel?
Yes, there is. There's the big church that was used, and I think there's a house right next to it. I'm not planning on doing anything with the house.
Okay, so the house will remain the same and then 4 units within the larger portion of the church.
What else? Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on this item?
Afternoon. I'm Robert Gilmore. I have been sworn in, and I'm from 1406 Wilmot Avenue in Panama City. Regarding this rezoning of a request for the 1410 Wilmot property adjacent to my family residence at 1406 Wilmot, my family moved to Panama City Beach in 1986. In 2018, we moved into this home in St. Andrews as refugees from the gridlock and chaos unfolding in Panama City Beach. Our family is happy to be in St. Andrews. We recovered and improved our home following Michael. We walk most days to the marina and Oaks by the Bay. We eat out locally at locally owned restaurants 4 times a week. We enjoy year-round festivals and events and live music, all in walking distance. We chose our home because of this delightful, walkable neighborhood. My church is now less than 3 miles from my house. We felt the comfort of having a property that serves as a buffer against the commercial hubbub of Highway 98. Our previous neighbor, Reverend Reuben Hoskins' family, was a delight. We look forward to having neighbors living next door. An empty house is not good for the neighborhood. My understanding is that when you rezone, that you would not just be rezoning for multi-homes. Is that correct? That this would include all of the things within that zone, rezoning? For instance, within that rezoning, besides multifamily homes, it says that you could have daycare, corner stores, food establishment, gas station, parking garage. Is that correct, that it includes all of those as well?
What's the
It's not specifically saying,
native neighborhood commercial?
Neighborhood,
Yeah, we're pulling that up.
Yes.
Because neighborhood general, neighborhood commercials.
well, that was on the information that I received from the, the planning board. But anyways, all of that carries a likelihood that our loss of community feel and imposition of increased noise and traffic will sour our happy nest. Adding multiple family homes will bring too many vacancies to our already congested end of 14th Street. A single quadruplex would mean that we would probably have need for parking for at least 8 more cars, I would think. And it would also mean those cars would be coming up and down the street, going in and out. I suspect there'd be a lot more pedestrians walking around, enjoying the area. I feel that that right now, adding multiple homes would bring too many vehicles to our already congested end of 14th Street. Nor is this area suited for increased pedestrian traffic, especially for children. Today, there are neighbors whose children are found playing dangerously close to the road and in their own yards. There's no sidewalks. It's a little bit unsafe for people walking in the neighborhood. This is just going to add to the number of people that are out there. We do not have sidewalks encouraging more than 2 single-family homes on this property. And I'm thinking both lots, not just the church, but where the church sits and where the house sits, would nicely accommodate two family home, a single family home in each of those sections. Our property value as a residential neighborhood will be impacted negatively. Please do not allow for the creep of commercial development. Please champion single-family homes to maintain the integrity of our neighborhood. There needs to be a line drawn where families can feel safe. There needs to be a buffer to keep the commercial noise and traffic at bay. This is an issue for all of St. Andrews neighborhood. The neighbors that we spoke to share our concerns, but work or have other issues to prevent them from speaking. I speak also for my wife, Arlene Zacher, who resides with me. Thank you.
Thank you. So anyone else want to speak on this item? Yeah. Did you have any questions on what the differences in neighborhood general versus commercial that we usually deal with?
Yeah, so we can speak to that. So as you know, this is the area part of the St. Andrews neighborhood plan districts. So the neighborhood residential district does allow for, of course, single-family detached dwellings, duplexes, cottage courts, accessory dwellings, but it also allows for public and private schools, public or non-commercial private recreation, and all of the uses. And if you want me to go on, it gets kind of lengthy, so y'all let me know when to stop. But one thing I do want to just mention, and this you will find in your packets, is that all of the uses that are allowed in neighborhood residential are also allowed in neighborhood general, which is being proposed here at this site. So when we're talking about neighborhood general, so in addition to what's already allowed in neighborhood residential, you have another set of uses, so does increase the intensity: live work units, civic institutional uses, healthcare, commercial office, temporary open air retail. So it does open up the use, allowances for this particular parcel. So if you have any other questions, let me know, but that does provide you with some insight too. We're essentially taking it up a notch with neighborhood general.
And then it's like the parcels adjacent to it and across the street are zone neighborhood general.
Correct. And so as you're coming off of 15th Street, you do notice that's the pattern here, so.
Yeah, I remember going through the process of assigning zoning districts as we approached
Yes.
commercial versus residential, and it's a very fine line between
Exactly.
density versus progress.
And that's really why we have this process, because staff does the best that we can, right? We all did. But of course, that's why you have this process, because people have the right to at least ask and go through the process.
If this was a church, as it was previously designated, would it have fit better in neighborhood general rather than neighborhood residential? Like the previous use
Correct.
would have been.
Yes. And we did see that, even getting down to the wire, quite frankly, when we were trying to move forward with the neighborhood plans, you have those parcels that would actually fit better, but were originally assigned to zoning districts of much lesser intensity. And we believe that was mainly because, we think it was mainly because initially when this process got started, people were looking at the overall existing development pattern of a neighborhood, which I also think is the case here. But a church would also obviously fit more within a district that calls out the civic uses. So.
Any other questions?
Is there a way to allow the quad complex without changing the land use designation?
The neighborhood residential only allows up to 2 units.
Is this 2
That's-
parcels or 1 parcel?
I believe this is just one parcel.
One parcel.
This is a double-sized lot.
It's just, it's a nice sized lot.
1408, is that the single-family house? And 1410 is the duplex? So why would you need, if you're not going to do anything with a single-family house, why would you need to change that to, and just not change it to 1410?
Sir, would you come to the microphone, please, so we get you on the record? Thank you.
Yeah, so the only reason I'm changing the whole thing is because the parcels together, I'm not sure why both buildings are in the same parcel. So when I survey, I had to survey both units. So if you want to change just the half of the parcel, that's fine. But as a parcel, when I bought it, it was just the whole thing.
Well, you can split the parcel.
I could, yeah. I wouldn't have a
You
problem
can
with
split it one time.
And then he could do 2 and 2, and, well,
Well, and-
kinda.
And
It's a quad
It'd be
complex.
1 and 4.
Yeah, 1.
The intent of.
yeah, so the intention is, the intention is the house. I haven't even considered anything with the house because it's already there.
And these 4, this is going to be like a quadruplex. It's
Correct.
going to be all built together and everything.
Correct,
And
yes.
they're going to park,
So in the back of the property.
Right.
That's where the parking space would be. So it would alleviate the parking in the front. We are estimating that we can fit 10 cars in the back, a lot more than what we need. To alleviate any, I wouldn't want my cars in the front neither. So we're parking in the back. So to alleviate our neighbor. And then right at Jensen is the Corum's restaurant, right next, like literally we're touching it already. But if I can, I mean, I didn't even think about it, but yeah, we can split the parcel and just do one, the building to be general, and the other one can stay at the house, and I can,
Well, then that would create a buffer between his property and the 1410.
Is it correct, you're not planning on taking down the church building? You want
Not at all.
it within the church?
Exactly.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, that church's been vacant, I think, for over, I think since Michael.
Any other questions? Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please take roll.
Board Member Carroll.
Yes.
Board Member Stamps.
Yes.
Board Member Barker.
Yes.
Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Chairman Newbauer.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Item letter C.
That meeting, this will still be heard before the city commission at which meeting?
It'll be, the first hearing will be August 12th, and the second one will be August 26th.
Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, issues.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please come to the mic.
I'm Arlene Zacher, and I live at 1406 Wilmont, next door to the house. So I just wanted to understand what you're saying then. So if the zoning changes for the church property, does it also change for the house property?
So this board made a recommendation that goes to the city commission to rezone the tower parcel, because that's what came before us. We did have the question because it looked like at one point in time this was 2 separate parcels. But this was he doesn't intend to demolish the current buildings there. He's just going to renovate them. So this board made the motion to approve his request and a recommendation to the city commission.
So does that mean that he could also put a quadplex on the house property also? So we could have 2 quad properties?
He could, but he told the board that his intention is to just renovate the buildings that are there.
But intention is different than, you can change your mind, right?
So ma'am, so all development and I haven't had a chance, obviously, to look at a detailed site plan, but based on the information that's provided, looking at the parcel, there's something called maximum build-out intensity. So essentially, when looking at this parcel, it's probably, and you could probably speak more to this, you could probably only do so much with what you have, is what I'm trying to communicate. So maybe there might be a desire to have more units, but quite frankly, I don't know if he's going to have the room, is what I want to try. There are allowances, but your actual land that you're working with does provide limitations. I hope I'm making sense.
There's also increased setbacks when a parcel
Yeah.
borders a residential parcel.
So I'll give you an example. So let's say you have a parcel, not necessarily this one, and the zoning district allows for 30 dwelling units per acre, but the parcel's only 0.25 acres. Can't really, you know what I mean? Like you're limited to what the actual land, the acreage, and if there are certain environmental features on the property. So we get into more into that. We as in staff work with the applicant during the development stage, but right now we're just at the zoning stage, but there are some checks and balances there, just FYI.
Thank you.
let's say the hearing's really been closed.
It's already been
so,
closed.
Yeah.
So thank you.
But the point is that the city commission ultimately has the decision to be made on this. This body just recommends.
Right. Item C.
Item C is case number CPC PLN 2025-0702. It's a request for an annexation, small-scale and land use amendment and rezoning. The applicant is the owner is North Star Church. The applicant is Joseph Bishop with a Flagler Design Build Incorporated. The request is to annex the subject parcel into the city of Panama City and for a land use category of general commercial and a zoning district of general commercial 2. This property is located off of Highway 90, approximately 0.445 acres. If you have any questions, staff is available.
So this is a Bay County property right now, and it's zoned commercial 3.
Yes.
Commercial 2 in the city would be the most applicable.
Yeah, that's typically, and we've seen this, typically if people are already have commercial 3 in the county, they're going to request GC2. So that's what they're requesting here. That's the most compatible.
Is the applicant here to speak on this item? Is anyone else in the audience here to speak on this item? All right, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
A motion second, please take roll.
Board Member Pearl.
Yes.
Board Member Stamps.
Yes.
Board Member Barker.
Yes.
Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Chairman Newbauer.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item D.
Item D, case number CPC PLN 2025-0773. It is a variance. The owner and applicant is Stephen Grancherall. Address is 910 Cherry Street, parcel ID 20986-000-000. And the request is for variance from the setback standards regulated by section 104-38, general commercial 2, zoning district minimum setbacks. And we have, staff would support.
Any questions from board members? Is the applicant here to speak on this item? Is anyone in the audience here to speak on this item? Okay, any further discussion with the board?
So what's the request?
Try to
5-foot setback in the rear? Is that what we're looking for?
Yeah, a variance to a 3-foot setback in the rear. It's an existing structure and its rear setback is already at 3 feet. So it wouldn't be able to do any continued or new development until the variance is approved. And then a side setback to 3 feet as well.
Okay, because yeah, it is an existing building. The plan is the footprint remains the same. We're just bringing it into compliance with the variance.
Yes.
The goal is, and I just want to make sure, so the existing setback in the rear is what it is currently. But remember, when someone requests to expand and encroach into a setback, we got to bring the whole structure into compliance. And of course, we're not going to shift a building X amount of feet to the front. So you go through the variance process. So in order to expand it to, and correct me, that's to the east, expand to the east, we also have to make sure we come into compliance in the rear to the south.
Okay,
So that's what's going on.
It is expanding to the east.
Yes, that side setback.
Okay.
But not expanding towards where the,
To the south, that would be that's the rear.
Okay, but the side expansion is still within the current, like it's not impeding into the setback.
So the side setback for GC2, the required setback is 5 feet. They're requesting a reduction of 2 feet, which would give them 3, correct? So they're asking for 3 feet instead of the required 5 to the east. That's the relief request.
So right now they're at 20. Am I reading this map correct?
Yes.
They're at 20 and they want to go all the way to 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess now I'm curious as to what the expansion is for to get.
Yes, so the reason they want that expansion on the eastern side is in that corner is where all their sewer and water connections are. And they wanted to have that extension so they can make more ADA compliant bathrooms without having to go through as costly and expensive as a renovation is there to approve everything.
The water lines on the property are at that location, so they want the building.
Connections is what the applicant is posted on his application.
And the applicant is not here, is that correct? I guess my hesitation is I thought we were bringing a current structure into compliance
Right.
versus an expansion that really limits that eastern side for the existing property owner should that actually be the intent. So it would be ideal if the property owner was here.
Absolutely.
And that property, yes, all these are commercial to, but this part. Any further discussion?
And I guess being that it's a variance, this does not go to the commission.
Correct.
This is the final decision.
Do I have a motion?
I move to deny.
Can we table this until the owner would like to see them, or just do that?
The question was, can we table this items, the variance till next meeting since we don't have an applicant or any?
I think the questions need to be asked, just,
Absolutely. Yes, and we can touch base with the applicant. Of course, we're more than happy to do that. Is the desire of you all will vote on it.
I'd like to better understand exactly what you.
Absolutely. Yes, and we'll reach out and the recommendation, we would recommend that table it to the next planning board meeting, which is in August. We believe that we should be able to, of course, reach out to them and connect with them in a timely manner by the time. Absolutely, yeah.
Make a motion to. Well, he'll need to withdraw his motion first.
So
Yeah.
you want to withdraw your motion?
I will withdraw my motion pending a motion.
I'll make a motion that we table till we have the owner come forward and talk, give us more idea what's going on.
He made a motion.
That's a motion.
Okay, Larry seconded.
Okay.
So just to be clear, though, you're going to table this to, we need the date and time certain of the next meeting.
The next,
Can you
yeah,
give us that date, Juwan?
It's August 11th, 2025 at 4 p.m.
August 11, 2025, 4 p.m., and we anticipate we'll be back in room 10 at that time. So
Yes.
your motion includes all that I just said, right?
Okay, a motion second to table this agenda item. Please take roll.
Board Member Carroll.
Yes.
Board Member Stamps.
Yes.
Board Member Barker.
Yes.
Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Chairman Duvall.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right. Item E.
Item E is an appeal on an administrative decision. It's case number CPC PLN 2025-0786. Like I said, it's an appeal on administrative decision to rescind a stop work order issued on May 15, 2025 for a dock under construction at 3411 West 15th Street. Enclosed with your agenda packets are the following: aerials and location maps of the property, dock plans and specifications. Additional information to be made part of the record include the following: building permit development order issued for the single-family dock at 3411 West 15th Street, documentation on the decision to issue a stop work order, a copy of the stop work order, submittal of additional information by the dock owner, a copy of the updated plans and specifications of the dock, a notice to interested parties of the decision to rescind the stop work order, copy of the decision to rescind the stop work order, or the actual decision to rescind the stop work order, copies of 4 appeal petitions submitted by Joe Popsel, Sterling Anderson, James Pick, and Nichols Trudell. In essence, this boils down to my decision to rescind a stop work order on May 23rd, 2025. Stop work order was issued because of concerns that a dock, first, may impede navigation, and 2, may not be constructed in conformance with the approved plans. The dock owner provided additional information, including updated plans and specs, showing that the dock is not an impediment to navigation. The updated plans delineate the correct footprint of the dock, showing it is being constructed at a length of 246 feet and not the 260 feet as shown on the original plans. All aspects of the dock appear to comply with the section 110-4G of the Unified Land Development Code. Based on this, we had no other reason or justification to leave the stop work order in place. I'm happy to answer any questions from the board, including any requirements of section 110-4G of the Land Development Code. I'd like to highlight subsection 3, Roman numeral 4 of that section, which states that the dock structures shall not impede the flow of water nor navigation. That is our requirement. I believe that's the case here. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions. I think we've got a number of people that want to come speak on this matter. So I'll hand it back over to you.
Mr. Chairman.
Before we go, I wasn't here for the opening. I do have disclosure. I have been in contact with some of the
Yeah,
people.
we're going to do that. We tabled the disclosures on this item to.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Barker, I was just about to announce just that. Because of we have 4 petitioners here today, you've all received the package. And because we have a number of folks that are here, we're going to follow a little more formal process on this so that we can keep time and evidence straight and all those kind of things. So the first instance of that is if you have any ex parte disclosures that you need to make, if you would make that on the record now. And I know that Mr. Rich has some, and then obviously Mr. Barker does.
I have been in contact with some of the people, but one of the persons that he called, and I cannot think of his names, but he did call and make his appeal. So I think it's military. Okay. I guess that was him.
Okay. I also spoke to Mr. Anderson on the phone and then talked to Mr. Burke about the processes. So.
And I talked to Sterling.
I received a voicemail, but did not speak on the phone.
Likewise. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any more?
No, sir. The next part of this is going to be the applicants, or the petitioners in this instance, Mr. Anderson, Mr. Popsicle, I'm sorry, Mr. Trudell, and Mr. Pick. I have, and the dock owner. I've sent an email to them last week explaining the process because we did have so many, and encouraging the petitioners to combine their case. I believe they're going to do the best they can to do that because they are the party with the burden of proving that Mr. Fuller's decision was incorrect. They get to go first and last. And so at this point in time, it would be the time for the petitioners to come up and speak. Typically, we have a 10-minute time frame on this one. Because there's 4, they're really entitled to 10 minutes each, but I believe, as I just said, they're going to try and keep that to a shorter time frame of their presentation of their evidence and their reasoning why they believe you ought to overturn the decision. So, Mr. Anderson, are you going to lead the?
Joe, sir.
Joe?
And you have copies of Mr. Popsicle's appeal petition and a copy of supporting information that he provided in your packets.
Who provided this package?
I did.
This is the package you
Yeah.
provided? Okay.
That contains everything.
All right, and then you also have before, so that was the staff package that Mr. Fuller referred to earlier. It's got all of the evidence in it. And then this is also a package I believe is provided by, it's by Mr. Bowers. He is the dock owner. And then I believe you all sent stuff in to have up on the screen. Is that right?
Yes.
Mr. Pops? Okay. Sorry, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Joe Pospisil. I live at 3208 West 16th Street, St. Andrews on Lake Huntington, and I've been sworn in. I'd like to thank everybody for this opportunity to speak. This is in regards to the dock that's built in the channel of Lake Huntington. I'd like to start by reading a list of information that is a summary of facts and our contentions about this issue, and then I'll briefly discuss why they're important. We, the petitioners, maintain that the dock has been constructed in the entrance and exit channel for Lake Huntington. The dock structure will impede navigation of the channel under certain weather and tidal conditions. If a boat were to be moored on the outside of the dock structure, as is often happens when you're loading a boat for an outing, the boat would essentially block navigation of the channel. The permit application drawings submitted to obtain permits both from the city and the Florida Department of Environmental Protection were erroneous. Is it possible to put picture JP1 up that I sent in? And I'll continue talking to see if you can do that, if you have it. It essentially is the permit drawing. The permit application drawing shows the proposed dock well outside of the Lake Huntington Channel. There's the drawing. If you look to the left side of that, you see where the two lines indicate the approximate location of the channel.
I'm sorry, sir.
We maintain that the dock is clearly in the channel. Two U.S. Coast Guard licensed captains and myself, a retired formerly licensed captain, that use the channel regularly can attest to that fact. All three of the captains agree that the dock impedes navigation of the channel, will impede navigation of the channel in certain weather and tidal conditions. Please note from section 110-4G of the Unified Land Development Code, the docks, I quote, "The dock structure shall not impede the flow of water nor navigation," unquote. We further maintain that during construction, the contractor installed channel markers, presumably to route traffic around the new dock. These PVC markers are new and they create a new routing of the channel. They would create the illusion that the dock is not inside the channel. These markers were placed during the construction. They do not accurately mark the channel. Additionally, the western newly placed green markers are placed in a very low water. They are inside submerged aquatic vegetation, seagrass beds, the result of which will be boats transiting low water with potential to ground at low tide and to scar or damage the seagrass on the western side. Through review of both the city permit and the FDEP permit, it appears that the permits were issued and approved based on incorrect data and/or drawings. It's our contention that the permits would never have been approved if the application drawings were correct. One of the conditions for the city permit is that the structure must meet the requirements of other regulatory agencies. I have obtained an administrative hearing with the DEP regarding their general permit condition prohibiting a project that adversely impedes navigation, essentially the same restriction of your Unified Development Code. Condition 14 of the DEP condition states, and I quote, "The construction, alteration, or use of the authorized project shall not adversely impede navigation or create a navigational hazard in the water body." As discussed above, three of the Lake Huntington boat owners are currently or formerly U.S. Coast Guard licensed captains of various tonnages. They all agree the dock results in some degree of navigation impediment and potential navigation hazards. All other non-licensed boaters that may not be as familiar with the channel potentially face a hazard of grounding now due to the alteration of the channel markers on the western side. So we maintain that the original request for permit drawing submitted to the city and the DEP, that is the drawing on the screen that you're looking at, is completely inaccurate. It shows the approximate location of the channel to the left-hand side there, and in fact, the dock structure is well inside the eastern side of the channel. This will be demonstrated later with some aerial drone views and further testimony of some of the captains. In fact, the drawing also shows the dock well outside the seagrass, which is the light green area there. In fact, the boathouse portion of the dock is constructed almost 100% over seagrass, and that will be discussed later on in our presentation. Can you put, please, picture JP2 up on the screen? That's J3. There you go, thanks. The Lake Huntington entrance involves and always has involved in navigating a relatively narrow channel from approximately 300 to 400 or more feet from the shoreline to the entrance under the bridge. The channel used to be clearly marked on the east side with 3 PVC pipes. Very difficult to see them in this view, but you can see all 3 of them, PVC pipes on the left-hand side. That's the eastern side, left-hand side of the picture. All 3 PVC pipes that marked the eastern and the deep side of the channel. We used to have to stay close to those PVC pipes when coming in and out of the channel into deep water. It's important to note that the water on the right-hand side of the channel in this picture, the west side, is extremely shallow. Only by staying close to those PVC pipes, now removed, can a vessel avoid grounding. Those PVC pipes were removed and new PVC pipes installed. Please go to picture J3. If vessels are forced to transit the channel further to the west, they'll be grounding during certain tides and certain shallower winter tides. In that previous, and I'm sorry, but in that previous picture, there were cuts in the exposed seagrass. You'll see other pictures of them from some of the other applicants. This is the current view right now, looking under the Lake Huntington Bridge. It doesn't really require any verbiage. So as I've spoken above, I've been granted an administrative hearing with the DEP. The same information included above, the same information I just told you was adequate for the DEP to approve my request for an administrative hearing. That is scheduled for the early part of September. It's our contention that both the city and DPE and the Florida DEP were provided inaccurate permit application drawings, and they would not have been approved, that is the permits, if the drawings were accurate. Depending on the outcome of that administrative hearing, the structure may not comply with permitting requirements, another permitting requirements of the Unified Land Development Code, which is number 4 in section 110-4G. The structure shall comply with the permitting requirements of all other government agencies. So why has there been a big deal about the location of the dock? And several people have stood on the Lake Huntington Bridge and looked out and said, well, what's the big deal? It doesn't look like you can go around the dock. And it does look like that. On a calm day with a high summer tide, it's a true statement that almost anyone can go around that dock with no problem. I have a 43-foot houseboat. The structure of the house part of the boat acts like a large sail. Even so, on a totally calm day with a high tide, like we have often in the summer, I have no problem scooting around that dock, which is in the channel. But if the wind is blowing from the southwest or the west, as it almost always is in the summer, especially in the summer due to the afternoon shore breeze, and especially if the tide is low, I must stay directly in the deepest part of that channel where his dock now is. I must keep moving. I cannot stop. Imagine a 43-foot boat stopping with the wind blowing. It'll blow me right into that dock or into the shallow water if I'm on either side of it. So if I ground in the channel, I have no other option than to get out and push. So there's a very good reason why there are regulations prohibiting structures from being constructed in channels, and your own Unified Development Code has a prohibition or whatever against doing that. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Captain James Pick, 2508 West 9th Street. I'm going to read the letter that I sent to y'all into the record.
Captain Pick, you were sworn in too, correct?
What's that?
You were sworn in also.
Yes,
correct?
I'm sorry. I was sworn in.
Thank you.
Let me get back to where I was. And then I'm going to make a few comments based on the information just given. Thank you for taking the time to read my letter concerning the above referenced property. I believe I have a unique perspective concerning the dock built on the referenced property parcel number. I lived in the original home located on the corner of Lake Avenue and 16th Street in 1987 and 1988. I used both the launch and the channel on Lake Huntington from 1988 to 1994. In 1994, I received my captain's license, at which time I started chartering. From 1994 to present, I have caught live bait for my charters in Lake Huntington, utilizing the channel each day. Over the last 10 years, I have docked my boat in private slips in Lake Huntington, with the exception of 2 years. During those 2 years, I was in the St. Andrews Marina and continued to use the channel into the lake. Most days to catch bait. I run 150 to 200 times a year. For the past 33 years, I have during the last 38 years, used the channel in and out of Lake Huntington thousands of times. No one knows that channel more than I do. In 1987, there was a day marker marking the entrance at the beginning of the channel incoming on the right or the starboard side. That would be the east side. This marker disappeared in the early 90s. This marker was located on the east side of the dock built on the above-mentioned property. Historically, this places the boat slip in the working channel. Over the years, PVC or red incoming markers have been put marking the channel to aid in navigation. About 8 years ago, after the channel was dredged by the city, Sterling Anderson and I placed new markers on the channel. These markers were painted with red paint, wrapped with reflective tape, and topped with reflectors. These served as aids to navigation for 7 years and were replaced 2 years ago after the last time the city dredged. These markers were so accurate in their placement, the last dredging crew used them to template and re-dredge the channel. The crew of the dock builder, or the owner of the property located at 3411 West 15th Street, removed the old markers and replaced them with his own. These new markers were clearly placed in the channel. During the construction of the dock in question, these markers were moved almost on a daily basis to fit whatever construction progress had been made that day. In my opinion, for the sole purpose of cheating the system to have a deep water boat slip without having to pay for it. Based on my use of this working channel over the last 38 years, this dock was built in the channel. Along with being a fishing guide, I have also run guided duck hunts since 1994. There are many mornings, and I am an anomaly, that I have to leave that dock, my dock, at 4 o'clock in the morning. During winter low tides, which are always in the morning, I have to get my boat on a plane to avoid any shallow water once I clear the working channel of Lake Huntington. So I don't know what number this one is, but you can clearly see on the flat just outside the channel on the southwest side, this channel actually runs northeast to southwest. On the southwest side, you can clearly see prop scars, and those came from the wintertime. Because there's no boats that are big boats can get into the channel. And then this JP2 that he had up earlier, if they could put that back up, I'd like to make a point with this one. You can tell the channel is clearly marked. It's clearly marked. I mean, you see that if you run a straight line, you're going to hit the pilings from the dock that was there before this dock was built. So when I come out of the channel in the morning, because the tides are so low, and sometimes we get tides as low as 3 foot less than what a normal tide is. This is not even a really low tide. And I'm taking my clients on a duck hunt. If I don't get up on a plane, I will hit that southwestern flat just outside the channel because I have a 26-foot boat. But now if I do that, because I line up with, I use line of sight navigation on some condominiums across on the beach. If I do that now, I'm going to hit that dock and I'm going to kill everybody on my boat. That boat is in the channel. Moving along. I keep using the words working channel because in my opinion, under the Code of Federal Regulations, maritime law, this is a working channel, therefore falling under the discretion of Homeland Security and the United States Coast Guard. Having said that, the CFRs clearly state that no one can block a working channel for any reason. The dock is clearly built in the channel, and this is an impediment to reasonable navigation. Last, as a tax-paying citizen of Panama City, a voter, and someone who cares about my community, this let's do it and ask for forgiveness later attitude has got to come to an end. I'm a 100-ton captain. and you can ask me any questions you want.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Board. Nick Trudell. I live at 3400 West 16th Street in the Lake Huntington area, and I have been sworn in. Thanks. I'm a new resident of the Lake Huntington community. I moved in February. I moved there because of the water access, right? That's why we bought it. That's why we paid for the location that we did. And then immediately after I moved in, this dock essentially started to be constructed. It was concerning. It took me a little while to wrap my brain around what the problem was being a new member of the community. I am a Coast Guard certified captain. I'm also a colonel in the U.S. Air Force. I'm not here representing the Air Force, but my retirement is to plan to stay here and execute my Coast Guard captain capabilities, right? So this dock is a major concern for me, just for the fact of I've found what I believe to be my forever place, and that has slightly changed as a result of this dock. I'm not going to get very technical on this. Sterling and some other representatives are going to speak to the real specific technicalities on this. I'm just going to try and keep this simple the way that I see it. The word impede does not say prevent. It doesn't say stop. It interferes. And does this dock interfere with our access to that channel and navigating that channel? It absolutely does. You saw the picture of the dock looking through the bridge. I believe that was JP3. When you're coming into this channel now from the bay side, you have to navigate to your right on the screen, which is the west side. You navigate west, then to navigate back to the east to line up to get under the bridge. In my boat, a 25-foot center console, it's not a problem, especially during the summer. In the winter, I haven't lived there, but I have seen how low that tide gets out on the east side in the wintertime, so that is concerning. But with my 25-foot boat, that's not a problem. Do I want to live with a 25-foot boat forever? Probably not. I'd like to get a 27-foot, a 30-foot. You see where I'm going with this? The larger the boat, as long as I can get under that bridge, I should have access to that channel to navigate that boat under there. Joe, who's already spoken, has a larger boat, and it is a problem for him. The rules that we all follow aren't so that my 25-foot boat can go there. It's so that all of my neighbors are represented in the protections of their use of the channel as well. My second point here, just to kind of keep it simple, this dock is the boathouse itself is built over seagrass. I'll just leave it at that. There's pictures, Sterling is going to show some, Bethany is going to show some, that show that this boathouse is clearly not on the side of seagrass or near seagrass. It is built in seagrass. If you go to JP1 for me, the drawing there shows the dock outside of that green area, which is the seagrass. We will show, and I can show you now, I don't have the label of the picture, but this picture right here, before it had a roof on it, there are halos and donuts in this. This dock is built in seagrass. So either the dock is located in the wrong spot or that seagrass drawing is incorrect. Both of these things cannot be true at the same time. And I don't know where to go from there. So we've got a dock that's over seagrass. It's misrepresented in this particular picture here. Or it was intentional. That's kind of where I'm at with this. I thank you so much for your time. I don't want to get too into specifics. I know Sterling's going to talk quite a bit, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, I'll take my seat. Thank you.
Do we have that overhead photo somewhere where we can pull it up, or?
Yes, sir. It's in Sterling's presentation packet that he got for you. I don't have the name of the
exhibit
photo itself. Yes.
Yeah.
Can we see
Any other
yours?
questions?
Can I see yours?
Yes, sir.
Is that-
Sorry.
Thank you.
And I got another question for you as well. When
Yes,
you're
sir.
talking about going out in wintertime when it's low tide, are you guys getting up on plane before you go under the bridge? Is that
I would defer to Sterling and Joe. They've done this in the winter. I just moved there after the winter time.
Okay.
So what I've been learning so far, because I have to transit even in the summer on the western side, because of the depth, even at low tide right now, I come into the channel on plane, which isn't preferable. I'd prefer to go further to the east at a lower speed to get over the low area before we get into the really deep water in the vicinity of the bridge.
Gotcha. Okay.
You see that, Aaron?
Any more questions?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, let's let Mr. Anderson go next, and then if he wants to, you can speak to that next.
Thank you. Thanks. Oh, I get to drive. Appreciate it. Sterling Anderson. I live at 3304 West 16th Street with my lovely wife who is here with me. To put it bluntly, we spend our money and our time on the water. They always say, hey, what do you do in life? What do you spend the most of? Where do you spend your time and your money? That's what Tanya and I like to do, is spend our time and our money on the water, right? So we bought there 2017, been a resident since. I'm also in the Air Force or Florida Air National Guard, not here to represent that, right? I'm here on a personal capacity. And I am a JAG attorney. I am not licensed in Florida, and I have to say that out loud, right? He knows why. There's some other people in town. So I'm licensed in South Carolina and DC, but I do practice law under the federal government purview, but I'm not here on that capacity today. I've got a 20, yes, sir.
And in spite of being a lawyer, you still swore to tell the truth, right?
And I was sworn,
You
yes,
did.
sir.
Okay, great.
Sorry, and I'm here to tell the truth. This overhead kind of tells the story. You can see just from looking at it, you know, water depths. I mean, the colors aren't everything, but it is in the channel. And I'm just gonna flip through quickly here. I don't know which way's front. Okay, this is Lake Huntington. This is a backed up view. I couldn't get any higher, apologize, but if you count the structures on Lake Huntington that have water access or have the ability to do it, it's 46 structures. 44 of those, to my knowledge, are residential. 2 of them, there's the church is on the, St. Andrew's Baptist has a parking lot that touches the water. And then also you, us, we, all of us have a city park. Lake Huntington Clubhouse has been called many different things, right? I'm not even sure what it's called, but y'all have a clubhouse there that y'all rent out for people to use. There's also a boat ramp there. So while it affects 46 structures, it affects countless people who we see all the time use that boat ramp daily, nightly, all hours of the day. Those are the prop scars that one of our previous petitioners, I believe it was Captain Pick, was talking about. So you see, if you come out of that channel and you make a right too soon, you ground. And 2 bad things, one for you and your boat, but not necessarily in the order of importance for the seagrass, environment, et cetera. So you can clearly see where the channel is and then some of the channel markers there. So I'm just gonna keep clicking. That's the scars that are zoomed in. I got a lot to go through. This is another picture, but very similar to the one that that Joe showed you earlier, but from a little bit closer view, right? And to answer your question, Mr. Rich, we do not get on plane before we go through the bridge on either way, right? I go through the bridge at wake speed, idle speed. But there are times when the tides and the grounds will require you to be on a plane either through or by this dock, if that makes sense. I think that may have been what you were getting at, especially when we're coming in or going out. Y'all have seen this. I don't have to talk. The only thing I want to say to this is about half of that water right there to my right as I point this way, or the western edge, is non-navigable during winter tides, and especially when you have a north wind. If there are any boaters here, the north wind just blows the water right out of the bay and everything, and the tide can be up to a foot in addition to the tide just because of that north wind. Basically what we're here for is Nest Egg Strategies has not complied with either DEP permits or the city permit on file. And in my opinion, you do have the decision or ability and responsibility to reverse that decision for the rescindment of the stop work order. We're not here to say no, that people shouldn't have access to the water. Everyone has it. I just told you my wife and I love it. The neighbors love it, but you can't have access and impede on other people's access. And there are rules in place here. They should be followed. Multiple drawings are inaccurate. Somebody else has already gone into that. And the dock clearly impedes navigation we're going to go through that. So DEP in their permit, they asked some questions. They asked, please provide reasonable assurance in October of 24 that the proposed activities will not adversely impede navigation or create a navigational hazard. I want to be very clear. DEP's rule is adversely impede navigation. The city's rule is impede navigation, not adversely, right? It's just impede navigation. We're going to get into the definitions of impede here in a little bit, but and then also create a navigational hazard. So the response by the permittee, Mr. McCoy, engineer at Shoreline, and I believe it's Pensacola, responded, we're going to put dock lights and we're going to put reflective tape. So essentially, they know that there's an issue here. That's why they have to put lights and reflective tape on there. This is the original drawing from the DEP permit. Just to point out some measurements, it shows 260-foot length, right? And it does show the dock outside the SAV, clearly. This is another drawing, same permit, DEP, November of 24. You'll see the access piers listed as 270 there. And then notably, the water depth at the end of the dock is 5 feet. Modified city permit drawing. So you file a DEP permit, you get it in November. In January, a permit was issued by the city. After the rescindment of the stop work order, the affected party, I believe we're calling Nest Egg Strategies, responded with new drawings and said, oh, we didn't build it 260 or 270 feet in length for the access walkway, or the pier as I call it. We built it 246. And so they just submitted new drawings. It's basically the same drawing with different numbers on it. And you will see the Lake Huntington approximate channel, which is misrepresented in our opinion in this slide. Modified drawings, that was in, I believe, May of 2025. The second page, it still shows 270-foot access pier. Not sure why, because I thought it was 246 in the previous slide. But it does show a 3.99-foot water depth, right? And the city code requires 4 feet, right? You can only go out to 4 feet. So now all of a sudden the same drawings, by the way, no pilings came out to my knowledge. We witnessed this on a daily basis. Same dock, new drawings got submitted with a different length and a different depth, but no changes to construction. This is again the modified city permit. You'll see red lines here that were drawn. And again, this is what the affected party, Nest Egg Strategies, has given you and the DEP, right? It's not what I'm providing you. I'm giving you what their drawings. I'm just interpreting here. Those red lines show the channel. So if you look at that red line on the eastern side and you see where that dock drawing is, it's clear that they even knew that the dock was clearly within the channel. We're also, look at the bottom, lights were added every 10 feet to the dock plans. Proof that we foresaw a problem here. Original city permit data. The extension of the dock and the watercourse shall not be any longer than necessary to reach a minimum water depth of 4 feet or 25 feet, whichever is greater. So that's where we get into the 4-foot requirement. It's right there on the permit that was signed by the affected party. It also says 260 feet of dock length or access pier length or dock length. They've got 260 and 270 for an access pier, and then an additional dock. Here they've got 260 feet of everything. So I'm not really clear on what's going on here, but I'm confused. And I would expect you to be as well. So just some DEP permit excerpts. And I know I'm talking about the DEP permit a lot. I'm going to explain that in just a minute. But basically, if you change the drawings, that's a problem. You submit drawings, and any deviations from these conditions may subject the permittee to enforcement action and possible penalties. Construction or extension of boat lift, moorings, terminal platforms, etc., shall not occur over submerged grass beds. And then this is a general permit. We're going to get into the specificities of that with Mrs. Womack and what that means. But basically, any deviation needs to be changed. And to our knowledge, that has not happened. There's a lot of other language about navigational hazards, reevaluate a permit. Basically, if you build it wrong, they can require you to pull it out, and you don't have any recourse against DEP or the state of Florida, et cetera. There's similar language in the city as well. All right, this is the, I'm calling it Clayton SAV. That's submerged aquatic vegetation or seagrass. It's a drawing that the affected party did in September of 24 before they got their DEP permit, before they got their city permit. And you see these drawings, if you look at that red line, from the earlier markings where the channel is, and then you can kind of extrapolate where the dock is right there. So essentially, they knew exactly where the SAV was, and they still built on top of it. There's a marker there that's designated as pole. That's what we see on NOAA charts, which NOAA is the official charts for navigation for the United States. I forget what NOAA stands for, but you guys probably know better than I do. And essentially, you can see, I'm going to flip one here. These aren't exactly accurate, but you can see where the dock is in relation to that SAV. It's entirely over the SAV, and then also in the channel. This is the SAV study, again, dated September of 24. I just would draw your attention to the bottom right. Conducting these assessments, following best practices, can lead us toward a sustainable future where we protect and preserve our natural resources. It also talks about how crucial protecting and preserving seagrass beds are to the ecosystem on the coast. This is what Nick was talking or referring to. Halos or donuts. This is obviously during the construction of, you can see those halos or donuts. Those are specifically forbidden by DEP, and Ms. Womack's going to get into that in just a minute. But you can tell, basically it's when you jet a pile in, it blows that seagrass out, and that's illegal. It's not allowed. Another picture, same result. Again, I know I'm going fast. This is the city code. The dock structure shall not impede navigation. Yeah, I left out the flow of water part, but if you read that sentence, what does it mean with respect to us? The dock structure shall not impede navigation. It also mentions the 4 foot below mean low tide there. And then also, notably number 4 at the bottom, the structure complies with permitting requirements of all other governmental agencies having jurisdiction, AKA DEP and others. So back to the dock structure shall not impede. Just in case you don't know what Merriam-Webster says about impede, interfere with or slow the progress of. So a synonym that I pulled up was hinder. Again, I referenced the DEP's rule is adversely impede. The city's rule is just impede. And I can't emphasize that enough. Here's a NOAA chart, just real quick. It shows markers there on the outside of Lake Huntington. I'm going to show you that marker that Captain Pick talked about. It is still there. It's just submerged, and it's because at some point a boat hit it. And it's jagged. It's dangerous. We actually put a PVC pole in it. At some point it got broken off. If you zoomed in on there, that's actually a PVC pipe within the original marker. And then I myself put that gray marker there just this past week to kind of give a view of where this is. And so if you look at that picture, you can clearly see where that marker is, where the dock is, and where the channel is down near the bridge. These are the channel markers that were added by the affected party during and throughout the construction phase. I'm going to overlap. That yellow is the marker that I just showed you, what we allege the official NOAA marker on the chart. And then the 2 markers were marked in green. Those were removed during construction. Those are the ones that Captain Pick and I put out in 2017, just so we wouldn't ground or hit anything we weren't supposed to when we're coming in. I think I'm at the end. Yeah, so they're not in compliance with either permit, either DEP or the city. I know y'all don't have anything to do with the DEP, but we can show they're not in compliance with that. Therefore, they're not in compliance with the city permit because of the other governmental structure reasons. We've got a couple of licensed captains. We've got Ms. Womack, who's in the crowd. She's ready to answer your questions on some specificities with regard to DEP compliance, all of that. And essentially, that's all I have. Just a couple of other notes, if I may. We talked about SAV, and what we haven't talked about is this. The neighbors met with the individuals from Nest Egg on the bridge on or about April. And we all talked, and it didn't go anywhere, and it was fine. I mean, we tried. But one of the concerns that I have is what I was told by that person, we're going to build another house in between the house that this is permitted in and the bridge. So maybe there's room for it, maybe there's not. We're not here to argue that. But the concern is if they build another house, guess what's going to happen next? Another dock. So my concern is be careful of precedent, be careful what we do here, right? Because if we allow this dock, there's going to be another dock, there's going to be more impeding of navigation, et cetera. We've got Bethany Womack here. I know she wants to say a few words to you as far as the illegalities of the actual permit. Ms. Womack? And I'm happy to answer any questions y'all have if y'all want to go there first.
There.
Not yet. Good. Okay.
No questions? Okay. Did I give you that? Thanks.
Good afternoon. I'm Bethany Womack. I have been sworn in, Cypress Environmental, 2357 Foxworth Drive. I just wanted to talk with regards to the DEP permit, which a requirement of the city code is to be in compliance with the DEP permit. The petitioners do have a hearing, administrative hearing that is pending in September on that permit, on the DEP permit. Looking at the permit that was issued, it was a general permit, and there are specific requirements for a general permit, and it appears that based on the conditions on the site and the requirements of the specific DEP requirements for a general permit, DEP had the information been presented to them correctly, specifically with regards to the location of grass beds, DEP would not have issued the general permit. The general permit specifically prohibits the issuance of a general permit for any mooring areas over grass beds. It also, first of all, let's start with that. It would prohibit the use of the general permit. So they would have denied that application. It would have then required the applicant to go to submit a separate type of application called an individual permit, which would have required them to also submit a separate application to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, rather than obtaining a state programmatic general permit, which is a federal authorization that they received inside of their DEP general permit. So the Corps of Engineers did not have an opportunity to review this project. Had DEP realized that they were going to be proposing mooring over grass beds, they would have denied the general permit application request. They would have had to do a standard permit. It would have gone into a much more scrutinized category of review that would have required an individual permit from DEP and a separate Corps of Engineers permit. And part of that additional scrutiny would be more scrutiny with regards to navigation. Additionally, under no circumstances would those agencies have permitted a roof over those grass beds as well. So that's strictly prohibited under their rules. So I fully expect when they go to that hearing that DEP will rescind that general permit, because it clearly does not meet their rules. But because it specifically says that construction or extension construction, in this case, a boat mooring location, shall not occur over submerged grass beds. And so if it does not meet that requirement, then that permit can't be issued. So that one item alone disqualifies the use of that permit that was issued. So had the drawings that had been submitted to DEP showed the mooring area over grass beds, DEP would have denied that permit. So any questions.
Is there a date on the hearing with DEP? I know y'all have said September, but is there a date in September where that's already set?
It's currently set for the 9th, 10th, and 11th of September, but we're requesting it to be moved a couple of weeks further back in September.
Okay. Thank you.
Bethany, can anything be dredged in that area? I mean, is that dredgeable? If the person, if he's got to move the dock or something, is that something that if he chose to, is that possible? I don't know. I'm just
Well, I actually did the seagrass survey for the city. When we dredged we didn't dredge all the way out that far. We dredged a portion of that channel.
I guess could it be dredged past where this dock is?
And we can dredge a portion, but not it. The alignment of the channel is within that other. That low tide drawing kind of shows it well, but it's inside of the grass bed area. There's an overhead where you see that darker water, and it.
So the only way to dredge it would be to remove seagrass.
Yeah, so they're not going to let you. They're not going to let you go into any of the grass bed area for that. But yes, I mean when we could dredge the channel when we do the maintenance dredging. We could dredge further out as long as we're not impacting grass beds. That wouldn't really have any effect on what we're talking about right here. I don't believe, but
Just curious.
yeah. And I will say that the grass bed survey that we did for the city for the last dredge, which we did go out well beyond where the structure is proposed, was fairly consistent with the property owner's SAV survey. That the location of where they showed the seagrass survey, where their seagrass survey showed the grass beds at that minus 3.5 to minus 4 foot elevation.
You're talking about the property owners that filed the appeal?
No.
Okay, the original? Okay.
Yes, Mr. Bowers, consultant.
Thank you, Beth.
Lindsay, can you talk to the 4 foot? The city allows 4 feet of depth plus the boat draft.
That's another part of the DEP, a requirement of the general permit. You're required to have at least 2 feet of clearance at mean low water. So depending on the draft of the boat, if you don't have at least 2 feet of clearance, then that's another. If you can't demonstrate that whatever boat you're going to be mooring there, if you can't have at least 2 feet of clearance, then you also would not qualify for this general permit. So at 5 feet, you would have that clearance, which is what also was shown on the DEP permit. Now, with the city permit, it now shows that at 4 feet, that you may or may not have that clearance. So I'm not real sure. DEP wouldn't have permitted it over grass beds anyway. The general permit, they would be looking at that, in the individual permit. A lot of those things would be scrutinized a little more. What they were doing is looking at does it meet these items, it's like a checklist. Is it over grass beds? Okay, no, the drawings are showing the mooring area is not over grass beds. The access dock can traverse through grass beds as long as the mooring area is not over grass beds. So no, the drawings show it's not over grass beds. Does it meet a 2 foot clearance? Okay, well, they're saying it's 5 feet deep. Yep, it's going to meet that. So they're just going down and making sure it's meeting all these items.
To avoid the Army Corps department, right?
Well, it didn't go to the Corps because it.
Because they apply for this type of permit.
That's correct. But had the actual conditions been shown to DEP would not have issued the general permit. Then it would have had to go to the Corps, and then the Corps would have been more. They would have asked all the same questions.
Sure.
Yeah. And neither one of them would permit the roof, and they would both be looking more into the navigation issue. There's a much higher level of scrutiny in an individual permit than there is a general permit. And the reason is because with exemptions and general permits or general permits, the legislature basically says that they're already issued. You just have to demonstrate that you qualify for them. So it limits what DEP can look at versus individual permits. The burden is on you to demonstrate that you have met avoidance and minimization and things like that.
Thank you. Questions? Thank you, Bethany.
Just a couple of more points in closing, if I might. Permitted in this, which is not yet built, is a 2-foot catwalk on the western edge of that building, which in that picture you wouldn't be able to see anyway, but another 2-foot catwalk on the outside of that. Mooring a boat is like blocks the entire channel, especially in winter tides, right? You just wouldn't be able to get in, maybe with a canoe. One other thing, Mr. Fuller's in his rescinding the stop work order, he mentioned that there's no impediment to navigation, and I'm not trying to quote, well, I am trying to quote here, but I'm not sure I'm going to get it right, and I'll let him speak if I misquote. He says something about there appears to be 50 foot of width of channel, like where you can go around it. Plenty of room, basically. I think we've proven with, 3 licensed captains and Ms. Womack that there's not that. It's just not. I mean, the entire channel may be 25 feet total, including what he's taken up, especially during a winter tide. And then I'll just close in saying that, there's 46 structures we've affected, countless people. The city spent over $200,000 to dredge this channel. About 4 years ago, and this is the second dredge since I've moved in. Y'all paid, we paid, the city, we paid in 2017 to dredge it. They paid again, and there were some other measures that were taken at that dredge. So hopefully we won't have to do it again, but the city's invested a ton into this channel. It shouldn't be blocked by a dock. Thank you.
Any questions? Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next is I'm sorry, Captain Pick had something earlier he wanted to address. If you'll do it pretty quickly because you've gone on for about 50 minutes now, so.
I was going to address the getting on a plane. So in the wintertime, tides are sometimes as much as 3 feet lower than a normal low tide in the summer because the axis of the earth shifts the waters to the southern hemisphere and it makes it easier for the tide to go out. And so coming out of there, if you can see that when the water goes out, you have to get up on a plane to clear that grass flat on the south side. And the way with my boat and with a heavy west wind blowing or a heavy northwest wind blowing that y'all know we get these winter storms, it's going to blow me into that dock and I won't be able to get out in the wintertime at 4 o'clock in the morning, or I would have a hard time. So, thank you.
All right. The affected party or the dock owner has an opportunity now to present their evidence. And if they're ready, they can come to the podium. Is that you, sir? Yes, sir.
Do you guys have copies of all this information that we had sent?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. My name is David Bowers. I'm the owner of Nest Egg Strategies, also the resident at 3411 West 15th Street, and I have been sworn in. I'll just start by introducing myself a little bit. Again, my name is David Bowers. I'm the resident at 3411 West 15th Street. I'm a licensed building contractor, licensed roofing contractor, licensed home inspector, licensed mold remediator, licensed mold assessor, and I've held most of these licenses since 2005. I've completed in excess of thousands of roofs in Bay County during Hurricane Michael, after Hurricane Michael. I've completed thousands of remodels, and we construct hundreds of new homes. I have several companies in town that are upstanding. I have Bowers Capital, Boston Metals, which is a metal roll forming company. I have a cabinet company that we manufacture and install cabinets. I have Art Construction, which we build, renovate, and roof houses. We have Art Marine. Ryan Bessier is my partner in Art Marine. My company actually is constructing this boat and dock house, or dock and boat house on this property. We've done hundreds of marine projects, both residential and commercial. We understand the effects and what we're supposed to do. We understand the SEV rules. We understand that we have to get a survey through an environmentalist. We've done the seagrass survey. We've done the riparian rights survey. We've done the boundary survey. We've submitted all this paperwork to the DEP. We didn't try to go out and put something up really quick. Matter of fact, Ryan was out with the crew, and some of the folks came up and they had some issues. They said, hey, you know, what's going on here? Well, at that point, we've got 3 years into this. We've got a permit that is active with the city of Panama City. We have a permit that's active with the FDEP. We've done what we had to do to get this permit. So we decided we were going to stop construction, call the FDEP. FDEP came out to that meeting on that bridge with tape measures, listened to the concerns of all the neighbors inside of Lake Huntington. The FDEP left there after taking measurements, observing the seagrass beds, and told us, you guys are in compliance. Move on, carry on. We kept on building. We ended up getting a stop work order. Mr. Fuller got involved. Mr. Fuller sat down. Mr. Fuller looked at all their evidence, looked at all of our evidence. He felt like we are in compliance. We are in compliance. Some of the things that you guys are seeing, some very good angles that they're taking photos from inside of Lake Huntington to look out at that dock. I've got some photos that I'm going to show you guys that if you're a Coast Guard captain and you can't get by my dock, you have some issues. The photo that they keep showing with a very low tide, it's a hard north wind in January. And I don't even know when that was taken, but I live there, and it's not that I haven't seen seagrass on both sides right up by that bridge. I have. I mean, it definitely gets low in there. But that's not a getting by my dock situation. That's a dredge issue, and that bridge where they have to go through is 18 feet wide. I have some photos that I'll show you that as well. But I'll continue on with going. What's that? Oh, sorry. I'll continue going on with just the whole process of the boat dock. The boat dock in question was permitted through the FDEP, City of Panama City. There's a boundary survey. There's a seagrass survey. There's a riparian rights survey. All that is required. We invited the FDEP to that neighborhood meeting. They pulled physical measurements of the property. They walked up and down with a tape measure. They had a 300-foot tape out there. They measured from our seawall. The reason we ended up, there was some talk about us shortening the dock. The reason we shortened the dock was to help them. There's still plenty of channel width out there, but we went all the way to where the dredge went. The dredge permit that Bethany approved was to 250 feet. That's how far the dredge was supposed to go. All of that dredge sand got put on my property. I let them dump it on my property. I could have used the fill behind my seawall. I know exactly what happened to that dredge project. That dredge went 497 feet. That's how far that dredge went. Where the edge of my boathouse is, there's no seagrass. Do you think that I would put a boathouse over seagrass? There's a seagrass bed about a foot out from that roof line. And the rest of when you see these colors, when you see the white sand piling up when they're calling, heirlooms or whatever they're calling circles, if you put a pipe in the ground with water, it pumps white sand to the surface. The white sand is sitting on top of mud and silt. It's not seagrass, it's mud and silt. This is not what they're talking about. destroying seagrass. It's not there. I don't think they have a current seagrass survey that would prove that there's seagrass there. We have a current seagrass survey that says it's not there at the FDAP. We have our own people that do what Bethany does. There is no seagrass there. After the stop work order from Mr. Fuller, like I said, we sat down and met, and he said we're in compliant, and we continued on. The project, as it sits right now, the only thing that's really lacking is power and water to complete that job. There's over $100,000 and 3 years spent to put that boathouse and boat dock out there. I don't have our pages numbered the way that they did. Where's the gentleman with the...
back. Just speak to the microphone, he can do it for you.
And there's a picture that shows the boathouse in black facing the bridge.
Look at
Yeah, that one, there we go. All right, so when they're showing the dredge permit and you're showing where our PVC lines are, and actually where he has his gray pipe is right in the front of that yellow line. There's 78 feet of water that's deeper than 4 foot. And that's at mean tide, mean high tide, or mean low tide. In the center, it's 9 foot deep right there. You're underwater. We're going by my dock at the front. There's 78 feet. You go a little bit further back to the corner where our current markers are, it's 67 feet. Again, 8 and 9 feet deep across that channel. On the outside, you're looking at about 3.5 to 4 foot of depth, even at low tide. You go all the way through. Let's look all the way down to the bridge there. It's 18 feet, that little hole that they have to go through to get into Lake Cunnington. Is my boathouse the issue here? Or is it they have 18 foot and 2 concrete piles on the side of that bridge to go through? The next photo is going to show the distance. There we go. The next photo, it shows that my boathouse is 300 foot from that bridge. The dredge permit was for 250 foot, the last dredge permit pulled. If you go 250 foot out, even in that dredge permit, this water is considered an open water. This is not a marked channel. It's not marked by the Coast Guard. It's not marked by FWC. It's not marked by anybody. If a 5-year-old goes out and puts a piece of PVC out there, it's not a marked channel. If Joe goes out and puts a piece of PVC, it's not considered a marked channel. If I go out and put a piece of PVC out there, it's not considered a marked channel. This is open water. Let's just say that it was a marked channel. Per code, I get 25% of that channel if I would like that. If it doesn't impede the waterway, I can get up to 25%. Right now, we are 16% inside of that channel. We are 16%. There's still 80 feet for them to go by my dock, in front of my dock, 80 feet. If you're a Coast Guard captain or recreational boater, you should have not too much of a time to go through there. If you can get through an 18-foot hole underneath that bridge, 80 feet is not an issue. Going to the next photo, we'll show like even some more width here. There's 2 boats in the next picture. They'll be side by side. Next picture.
Say he doesn't have any more pictures?
He doesn't have any more pictures?
They're in our packet though.
They're in the packet. You guys can see them. So there's 2 boats there. This is coming out of Lake Huntington. The boat on the left is a 32-foot boat. There's 15 feet plus between me and the boat on the right. I'm in the boat on the left. My buddy's in the boat on the right. His boat is 11-foot beam.
Please see the picture. Yeah, we gotta see that.
Do you have another copy for them to, or here, Mr. Anderson, you can have it. I'm going to give him my packet. Sure. They've got my packet, Mr. Bowers, so they're, thank you. I can see it.
The boat itself on the right-hand side there's at least 25 foot out to that marker. That's your about 70 foot. That's 2 boats going out by that boathouse. And technically, if they were tied together, there's room for 5 boats. It's not my boathouse that's the issue for them to get in and out. It's the 18-foot bridge that they got to go through. There's a hole there. And it didn't matter if my boathouse was there or not for them to get in and out of there. It's a no wake zone when you're within 250 foot of every bridge. When they're talking about living in Lake Huntington, it's a Coast Guard law, a Coast Guard rule. You have within 250 foot of every bridge, it's considered a no wake zone. Why are we on plane going by the neighbor's docks, my dock, and going through an 18-foot bridge? Why are we on plane there? That does not seem safe at all. There's kids jumping off that bridge all the time. There's kids playing in that bridge all the time. And we're going through there on plane. Doesn't seem like a very good idea. The next photo, he said he doesn't have any more photos. The next photo, they talked about the dock, the boathouse and the dock being lit. Every dock and boathouse in Florida has to have lights on it. That's just part of the permit. We have lights on the end of our boathouse. That's not something that, we're trying to just do, or he had mentioned that Clay said we had to have lights on the boathouse. So that's how we were going to be, complying with this. Every boathouse has to have it. There's a couple video links that I sent as well that'll show, but actually before you go to the first video link, we've talked a lot about the scarring on that, and that is, probably some seagrass over there for sure where that scarring is. Probably 80 to 90% of the time, there are boats running around over there with their outboards all the way down, not touching anything. Those scars are from a winter tide, a very low tide. You're gonna see in the videos of my boat actually going over there, outboard all the way down, driving, nothing kicking up. I mean, these are good pictures and there's definitely scars there, but it's not a realistic thing that 90% of the time, all these boats can go wherever they want. Technically, 90% of the time, you will have 600 feet to get by my boathouse. Let's go to the next video, or the next slide. It should be a video. There'll be a link. This will be just two boats that were in that picture going side by side. It's a little bit long, they're going a little bit slow, but I mean, if two boats can get by, you'll see the space between them. I don't see how one boat cannot get by this boathouse. If you look to the left, those X bracing on that dock, they're almost all the way underwater at high tide. So we're actually at low tide going through here right now. Certainly seems like one boat can get by there. This is a summer low tide right here. Difference between summer low tide and a winter low tide is 1.5 feet in Panama City. You get a north wind, it does blow the water out of Lake Huntington, but that has nothing to do with St. Andrews Bay. Outboards all the way down, dead low tide. Two boats side by side with two boats that can go right on through them. Let's go to the next, should be maybe one more video clip. It's just me coming in. This is a little bit higher tide, so you can see how the X bracing on the dock, it's much higher. So this is a higher tide. I'm gonna actually drive and do a circle, and I'm gonna be on the east or the west side of those piles, or of those white markers right there. And we'll talk about the prop scarring. You'll see no mud kicking up, no nothing. On a normal tide, you can be for 600 feet past my dock and still navigate just fine. On a low tide, you probably will have to use the channel, but a lot of the area, even west of those markers, you can certainly still get by during a very low tide. It's a 34-foot boat turning around in the channel, gonna go outside. Almost a full boat length outside, no mud kicking up, no sand kicking up, outboards all the way down. And I'm just going to turn around, I'll come back and through a different section of it, and then I'm going to turn around completely in the channel. It's a 35-foot boat turning around in the channel. Well, we can get one by here. I mean, we can get one through there. We can go to the next photo. Should be some more photos after that video. They're going to actually be like Bay County property appraisal listings. Yeah, they're in the packet. So in the packet, it's just going to be some examples of around Bay County. These are jobs that we've actually done work around recently as doing marine contracting, and just noticed, some of the narrower areas. I'm sure there's a lot more narrow areas. In the first one, you got about a 70-foot boat, and he's got a boat between him and the other boat. That 70-foot boat is able to navigate that channel. He's got 45 feet between him and that boat. We have 70 to 80 feet to go by my dock. There's no 80-foot boats in Lake Huntington because they won't fit under the bridge. And the next page just shows the address of where that property is. The very next one, we did work over here as well. There's like 47.4 feet between these two boats. Addresses are listed there in the packet. Next one, I think that boat was, that was 55 foot, it looks like. They have 57 foot. That guy is able to navigate nearly a 60-foot vessel. He's probably not a Coast Guard captain, but he's able to get that 57-foot boat in there somehow. Next one, 48 foot, another 62-foot vessel, navigating miraculously. On top of that, everybody in here, and for the most part, they didn't really say too much about the summer tide having issues getting by. I've watched every one of them, except for Joe, go by on plane, right by my dock, right out through the bridge. 4th of July weekend, they were all out there. I was sitting on the end of my dock. I watched all of them go by there. They have no issues navigating around there. Not when they went out or when they came in, both 2 different tides on the 4th. They were also out there this weekend, all of them were. I'm asking 5 planning board members to agree with Panama City Code Enforcement, the FWC. I have 33 Coast Guard captains and frequent boaters that have signed affidavits. All the affidavits are in those packets that he has scanned in that I sent in as well. We have 3 Coast Guard captains out of 46 people that live in there. I have 10 Coast Guard captains that I had to collect within probably 48 hours of this, of knowing what we had to do. I could probably get another 100 Coast Guard captains assigned that you can get by my dock and drive under that bridge. This is not an issue to get by that boathouse. It was done with permits, with surveys, and it was done properly. We are not built over seagrass. That dock is an access pier. It's allowed to be over seagrass. The terminal platform, it's not allowed to be over seagrass, and it's not over seagrass. I would appreciate if you guys could see some common sense here and vote in my favor. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Bowers?
Yes.
No, I'm just asking if they have any questions. Everything's good? All right, then, thank you, sir. You don't have anything else?
No.
Okay. All right. Next is staff's opportunity to speak. I know that Mike did an introduction in the beginning of it, but this is his time to actually put on, Michael Fuller, rather, any time to put on his evidence or to state his case regarding the matters that are before you. So, Mr. Fuller?
Sure. I'll go back to my reasoning in the email I sent to the interested parties. Back on May 22nd, notifying them that I was going to rescind the stop work order.
Mr. Fuller, just for the board members here, there is the package that you set in front of you. Mr. Fuller has a portion of it that says notice of rescinding stop work order. I think that's where you're talking about you're going to. Yes.
That's right.
I'll have that.
Okay.
Yeah, they should have.
Okay.
Everybody should have copies of it.
Yep.
Where I state specifically the stop work order was issued on May 15th because of concerns, 1, that the dock may impede navigation, and 2, that the dock may not be constructed in conformance with the approved plans. Since that time, we have determined that the dock will not impede navigation. That is my opinion. The dock appears to be located outside the dredged channel authorized by DEP in their permits. There were 2 permits that DEP issued, one in 2017 and one in 2020. This area is beyond that area that which was dredged. I also go on to state that there appears to be sufficient space, over 50 feet, to navigate or maneuver past the dock and into the dredged channel. Secondly, the applicant has updated the plans and specifications delineating the correct footprint of the dock. The dock appears to extend 246 feet into the water body and not the 260 feet as shown in the original plans. All aspects of the dock appear to comply with section 110-4G of the Unified Land Development Code. And based on that, I did not think we were justified in leaving that stop work order in place and therefore rescinded it. And I'm happy to answer any questions y'all might have.
So I'm not an attorney like several folks in here. I know we have specific rules that we have to follow on accepting evidence based on the criteria we've been given here. What, I guess, is is the specific code? Is it not to impede navigation and to have all permits by other agencies? Is that the two grounding elements we're trying to make a decision on?
That's correct. Specifically, section 110-4G states, the dock structure shall not impede the flow of water nor navigation. That's
Okay,
all
so
it says.
that's one criteria we need
That's
to
one,
decide.
yeah.
And then the second would be,
Doesn't say anything about channels. It just says shall not impede navigation. Then the other requirement is the structure complies with the permitting requirements of all other governmental agencies having jurisdiction over the project.
and is it correct to say there was a DEP permit issued?
They have a DEP permit.
Correct.
Currently, there is, right?
Currently there is, and that permit is currently in appeals process, but is not yet decided.
That is correct.
Okay.
Michael, did the city re-inspect the dock after the stop work order?
After the stop work order, do not believe we've done another inspection since then.
Has anybody done an as-built survey on the dock to see if it is in compliance with the drawings?
Not that it's been submitted to us.
Okay.
And then what is the process that we go through right now? So we'll hear evidence, make a ruling. Does that ruling go somewhere else as a recommendation, or is this?
It'll be finally here, but you're not quite finished yet because, as I told you at the beginning, yes, sir, the petitioners have an opportunity to rebut what has been put on now by Mr. Bowers and staff.
Okay.
And so when we get to there, then I'll give you a little explanation about what your next steps would be.
Oh, I'm kind of like that, Michael. If this goes through and they appeal and the appeal is upheld, what's the city position?
So if they prevail with their appeal to DEP and DEP rescinds or nullifies the permit they issued, then he would no longer be in compliance with our rules. But as of now, that hasn't happened.
I think they went to a different DEP.
Is it, did I hear correctly, and maybe this may be a question for the owner, is there plans for additional dock and catwalk coming on the exterior of that as well?
I don't know where that came from, but in the construction plans, there is no catwalk on the west side. There's no plans or development order for another house. There is no plans or development order for another dock closer to the bridge. There's none of that.
I just wanted that question answered as well.
So in practice, Michael, the city checks these boxes, make sure that the DEP permit is really what kind of governs dock building. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay.
Their
permit process is much more construed. Yeah, you've got some basic things that were in the drawings correct for the city code, but okay.
Any other questions for Mr. Fuller? Good. All right. The petitioners, you have an opportunity for your rebuttal.
You need to ask Mr. Fuller questions?
Everybody gets to ask anybody questions. Yes, sir.
Mr. Fuller.
If you'll go to the microphone, Mr. Anderson, so we got to get all this on the record.
Yeah, I think y'all know. Mr. Fuller, if the dock permit for DEP says that the access pier is 260 or 270 feet in length, yet the city permit shows 236, and he's admitted that they shortened it to 236, is he not in compliance with the DEP permit?
That would be for DEP to determine.
And if that were the case, would he not then be in compliance with the city permit?
If they determined he was out of compliance and they revoked his permit, then yes, he would be out of compliance with our rules.
Okay. I had one more question. Sorry, I got some notes here. Has anyone from city staff done any type of investigation with respect to the channel or the depth or clearance during low tide winter situations?
So The only investigation or inspection that the city has done is some members of our code compliance team went to visit the site or the area on the police boat that has a depth finder and use that to establish that basically what's reflected on the plan is for the most part accurate.
When was that? I mean, May, June?
May. Yeah, it would have been before so it would have been around when the stop work order was initially issued.
So nobody's done it in November, December, January, February timeframe?
No.
Okay. You got questions for Mike?
Mr. Fuller.
Yes.
The day that this all started.
Just one second.
Who started it?
Captain James Fick is asking questions now. Thank you.
Who got it going on the day you rescinded their?
Actually,
it was me, right?
Well, you were one, but Mr. Popsel had approached the city.
But I walked in with photographs, and what did you tell me based on those photographs that you looked at?
Based on the photographs that you provided, it looked like there could be obstruction to navigation.
You clearly stated to me that that dock was in the channel. It was built in the channel, and we need to stop it. There was 2 other people standing there when you told me that.
Okay.
Okay? So what changed between that day and today?
We don't have a rule that says it can't move the channel.
So what I would say to you gentlemen, I mean, there's Stevie Wonder's not up here. Y'all see the pictures.
Captain Pick,
okay.
You're going to have an opportunity in just a moment.
Okay.
You're actually in Mr. Fuller's time right now, so you're going to get the rebut and make your closing in a moment.
Well, the other thing, okay, so Mr. Fuller, when you went out and inspected the dock, did you check for seagrass beds?
I did not.
Okay. Did you check depths?
Hold on. Answering. Our code compliance team did not because that's not a city requirement.
Okay. Did you check depths? Because part of the process is a depth.
Yes, they checked depths.
You got in the water and checked depths?
No, as I just explained to Mr. Anderson, they checked depths on the police boat that they used to drive through the area.
Okay. That's all. Thank you.
No questions for Mr. Fuller? Yeah, I'm not looking at you, Mr. Bauer, if you want to. Well, actually, let's let Mr. Poss, you're good? Any questions of Mr. Fuller?
No, I would like to speak, but I don't have any questions from.
Okay, thank you. Now, Mr. Bowers, did you have any questions for Mr. Fuller after those questions? Okay. Thank you. All right, then if we don't have any more questions for Mr. Fuller, are you done with your presentation?
I am done.
Okay. The petitioners now have an opportunity for rebuttal. And as I told you in the email, this is not a time to print on new evidence. This is a time to rebut what has been presented by the other parties.
I have notes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. I've been a sailor for almost my whole life. I watched people die when I worked in the oil field. I've crossed the equator when I was 23 years old in a boat. So I know water. And I don't care how many captains this gentleman has to say what he wants him to say. I run that channel every day. I've run that channel every day for 40 years almost. And it's never been 9 feet deep. There's never been 9 foot of water in there. Never. The first photo that he showed, the dock was built, can we put that up? I mean, his first photo, I don't know what the number was.
The very first one?
That right there, okay? That's not accurate because he's got the entire channel moved, shifted to the southwest. You can see on the west side, the grass flats inside his marked channel, okay? That's at least 6 or 8 feet on the furthest south green marker, which would be the west side. He's at least 15 feet into the grass bed. His markers come south, then they go southwest, then they go south again, then they go southwest again, and that's how he's marked the channel. He's moved the markers around to make them fit his narrative. and trust me, the channel has never been 80 foot wide. When he showed the second photograph of the single boat going in, you could see him kicking up mud coming out when he turned his boat. I could see the mud coming up. I know what mud looks like when it comes out of a motor. I sit behind Shell Island all the time and watch the pontoon boats kick it up for years and years and years. He has no visible lights on his dock exiting Lake Huntington. That's where the hazard to navigation is. At night, if we want to go out at night, we have no visible lights on his dock. I've seen no visible lights on his dock coming out of the channel. As far as the comment about on a plane coming out, you can't see those coming out, okay? You can't see them. Or they're off at 4 o'clock in the morning. You can't see them. I leave my dock at 5 o'clock in the morning every morning, and I have to avoid this dock to go to pick up my customers at St. Andrews Marina. You cannot see these lights. I don't care what that picture says. You cannot see these lights coming out. I invite any one of you to come on my boat and see this for yourself. Any day. The last thing I'm going to say is that as far as getting on a plane coming out of Lake Huntington, the Coast Guard rules and the Code of Federal Regulations say that you operate a boat at a safe speed. Okay? So he's put himself in a position, he's put his boats in a position that if somebody comes out in the wintertime at a safe speed, then getting up on a plane to avoid running aground on a shallow flat just outside the traditional channel that we have there, that is operating a vessel at a safe speed. And that's what the law says. So I actually do have one more comment. Thank you.
So, a couple of things. Mr. Fuller is exactly right. According to the drawings that my understanding were used and that were submitted to the city and the DEP, it does appear as if the dock is outside the channel. It does appear that, and I think that we talked about that. According to the drawing, which is incorrect, it does appear as if the dock is outside the channel. So I understand why, according to the drawing, the permits were issued in the first place. Mr. Fuller provided an excellent presentation of boats coming inside or coming toward the bridge during a relatively high tide. It may have been a low summer tide, but if you know anything about tides, there's a low tide on any given day is different than a low tide on the next day. The tides vary. That's the reason they use a mean low tide as the benchmark for how deep shall we dredge a channel. In the summertime, most of the time, even at a relatively low summer tide, I could take my houseboat and do donuts just like Mr. Fuller did with his boat. My houseboat draws about this much water.
Mr. Pospisil, you keep saying Mr. Fuller. I think you mean Mr. Bowers.
I meant Mr. Bowers.
Yes.
I'm terribly sorry.
Just for the purposes
sorry
of the record.
about that. Right. Mr. Bowers did a great job of showing his boat doing a donut in the channel. I could do that too. I could do it with my houseboat. When the wind is not blowing and on any given average summer tide, I can do that. But we're talking about certain tides and certain conditions that would limit me and other people getting out, and that's the whole crux of this. I could spend all day showing you going in and out of that channel with my houseboat on any given tide with the wind low, no problem. Meet me in December and come ride with me on my houseboat, and I'll demonstrate why that dock is an impediment or can be an impediment on certain tides and certain wind conditions. That's all I got.
If we could go to my PowerPoint, please. Yeah, I'm gonna go to the, I think I'm already at the end. Okay, Mr. Nest Egg Strategies stated that he's got over 100 grand in this dock. Only the city permit says cost of construction is 46.5. So I'll just show that, the development order. This doesn't surprise me because we have multiple different drawings, multiple different everything, right? If you look through the packet that he submitted, this drawing here, again, what Joe was getting at, perfect tide, perfect day, perfect location. Summer tides are only about a foot, maybe less. We're talking about winter tides, and we're talking about, you know, real impediments during those times. The other things I want to point out, I've looked through, I didn't have time to look through all of them, the 50 or so, or however many Coast Guard captains he's got. I'm reading these affidavits, and they say, does not constitute an obstruction to navigation. Does not impede such travel under normal operating conditions, right? So we're not always under normal operating conditions. And then the other affidavits that he has, hang on one second, does not pose any navigable hazard, any obstruction or navigational hazard. That's not the standard we're here to decide, that you're here to decide. It's does it impede navigation, which is hinder navigation. He admitted he's 16% in the channel. I don't know if y'all heard that, but I heard it. He said, we are 16% in the channel. If he's in the channel, he's impeding navigation by definition, especially a 25-foot wide channel. I know there's a discrepancy. He thinks the channel is 80 feet wide, even though he pointed out that the bridge is 18 feet wide. 18 feet. The permits were obtained in, DEP permit was issued in November of 2024. City permit was issued in 7 January 2025. He didn't start construction then. I would submit to you probably because the tides were really low and he knew the problems that were associated with that. And then he talked about it's not a Coast Guard channel. I mean, I hate to get back into it, but I think I showed you a NOAA chart right there. Markers. I don't know if y'all see abbreviations, marker. I kind of glossed over it. It is a marked channel. No question about it, it's a marked channel. We obviously disagree with his comments that there's no seagrass there. I think it's evident in the pictures and in the SAV study. With respect to Captain Pick's comments, we don't blow through the bridge on plane. I kind of took personal, that personal, right? I'm not blowing through the bridge on plane. He said his dock's 300 feet and we have to be 250 feet not on plane. So we can come by his dock and still be within the legal Coast Guard rules. We have to be on plane under certain conditions. Again, not always normal, not always perfect, in order to navigate. There is one other point I want to make, and I'm going to need Ms. Womack to comment on this, but all of the pictures he showed you in this back packet show canals, right? All of this 70-foot boat, navigation, et cetera. These are all canals, from what I can tell. They're not channels, and there's a difference. And he talks about he's allowed to build 25% into the channel. I disagree. Maybe in a canal you can do that. My understanding is you cannot do that in a channel, and I would ask Ms. Womack to speak to that.
Do I need to say my name?
You're still
again?
sworn
Bethany.
in, right? You
Bethany
still got to
Womack.
tell the truth, yeah.
Yes. So the DEP has a rule that allows docks to extend as long as you're not in an aquatic preserve, 25% of the width of a water body. So in the pictures that were just shown to you in a canal, which a canal is not a channel. A canal is an upland cut or an artificial water body. That water body, you can extend 25% of that the width of that water body for a structure. Then the opposite property owner can extend 25%, and that leaves the middle 50% open for navigation. If you are in an open water body, Grand Lagoon, you would be allowed to extend 25% of the width of the water body. The other person would be allowed to extend up to 25% of the width of the water body. But you can't encroach into the channel. So if you have, if the channel, the marked channel or a thread of navigation, if that common line of navigation is within that 25%, you can't impede in that navigation either. So if you that would be excluded from your 25%. So in a channel, you're not afforded a 25% of a channel the way you are in a canal or an open water body. So in the actual channel, in a channel, that area would not be considered subject to a 25%. That makes sense?
Does DEP make the determination of what kind of water body it is as part of their process during the application?
Yes, they will. And when they review this application and under a more strict application process, which I believe that's what it will come to. That is one of the things that they would look at is they're going to want to see where the edge of the channel is. Versus it won't come to the 25% rule. It'll be the edge of the channel.
Was that not determined during the original DEP?
Well, if you look at the project drawings, it should have been. But if you look at the project drawings, it's not shown.
Okay.
Which is another contention of, if you look at the DEP permit drawings, it shows the mooring areas not in grass beds, and it also does not show the channel. And it also doesn't show the contours, because that would have probably given it away of where that's at. So that's speculation, but that's what I would.
Thank you.
In closing, we just ask you to look at the rule again. Dock structure shall not impede navigation. He's admitted he's in the channel, and we'd ask that you rescind the permit. Thank you. Any questions?
No, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, there being no other evidence to be presented to you, board, then here's where you sit. You've got no other questions for any of the parties involved, any of you? You're good? Okay. So you start from the proposition that Mr. Fuller has made a decision and a determination that the stop work order should have been lifted. The petitioners have appealed that decision. And so it is their burden to determine today, or to prove to you today, that Mr. Fuller's decision was incorrect. So that's where you are at this stage of the game. And you've heard evidence from the affected party in this instance, who is Mr. Bowers, regarding his position on that. So now you sit in the position essentially as Mr. Fuller did at the time he made the decision, understanding that the appeal is of his decision. And you have the ability to agree with that. You have the ability to disagree with that. You have the ability to modify that decision. So you are essentially Mr. Fuller at this stage of the game. Are you envious now?
Totally. It is my feeling that until DEP makes their determination in September, that we would be preemptively making a decision that we don't have all the information on and we don't have their jurisdiction's decision. So it is my opinion that we should defer that decision until the DEP makes that final determination. That's my feeling on it.
I do think you all have some very compelling evidence. Unfortunately, we can't make the rulings on seagrass channel markings. The evidence that I saw today, I didn't see a winter low tide with navigation being impeded, which is difficult for me then to make a ruling that navigation's been impeded only because there simply wasn't that evidence presented. But I do agree, the compelling argument seems that DEP's information would be much more applicable versus our ruling.
And to be able to have an as-built survey to where we can verify that what was planned was actually built to that same degree, because there's a lot of back and forth about where it was built versus where it says it was supposed to be built. And I feel like that's a feasible way to move forward.
Let me make one point to you right now about the FDEP permit. It is a condition of Michael issuing the permit that FDEP has had that approval. So he went through that. Mm-hmm. And the evidence that you've had so far has been that there is a DEP permit. Now there's an appeal of that permit, just like what you're going through right now. So as the evidence sits before you, that permit has been issued. And that was one of the criteria that Mr. Fuller had to determine when he was going through that. Okay. So secondly, you're not here to make a determination about FDEP's, any of that stuff. You are limited to the criteria that's within the land development code. And then you also heard evidence too from Mr. Fuller that, and this happens anytime you build something in the city of Panama City, a dock or anything else. You come in and you make application and you proceed and you build something, and you build something that was in violation of a permit that was issued. You have built that at your own risk, and you can be required by the city to remove that structure if it offends the code. So the same would be in this instance. Mr. Bowers has gone and constructed his dock. He has done it under a DEP permit. That permit has been challenged. You've heard why the petitioners think it'll be overturned. And it's relevant to you in the fact that it was issued. It's not relevant to you in the fact that it is under appeal at this point in time. Because, as Mr. Fuller testified to you, if the petitioners are correct, and they seem pretty confident in their position that the DEP permit has been exceeded or violated, then it goes away, and Mr. Fuller is back to a stop work or a code enforcement action that you might be glad to hear won't come before you, but it is a possibility that had to be removed. So to the extent that you are considering the FDEP criteria, I would caution you to consider it to the extent that the permit has been issued at this stage of the game, and your decision is based on whether or not Mr. Fuller was accurate or correct in his decision to rescind that stop work order, okay? I said a whole lot right there, so if you got any questions, of me after having said that, please feel free to ask.
The motions.
What is the language of a motion if someone were to make one, that we are either approving or denying Michael Fuller's rescind?
Yes, if you are, like I said, you have three options here, but it would be either a motion to affirm his decision, a motion to deny his decision or rescind his decision, or a motion to, I guess you could have a motion to affirm his decision with further criteria that you may add to it, but it's got to be within the bounds of the land development code in order to make that additional act like Mr. Fuller and tell them they can build it only to 230 feet or something to that effect.
And if it's not built to the criteria that the drawings were and DEP does a denial on their part, then it's going to be a completely different situation outside of the appeal.
That's right. It goes to the code enforcement. Right. The special magistrate is what we use in Panama City, but it would be just the same as I used the example if if they said they were permitting a 3,000 square foot home and they built a 10,000 square foot home and that didn't fit within the criteria of what we allow on that particular lot, that wouldn't come before this board. That would go to the code enforcement special magistrate because they violated the permit.
Okay. Well, my concern is that he has an admission that he built it outside of the scope because he wasn't supposed to build in the channel. And he admitted that he built in the channel. So I'm just wondering about that part of it. Yeah. That's my concern. When he's going to admit that he built it illegally, really, when he built it in the channel. And he's admitted that, so I have a problem.
No, sir. The evidence is closed. And so,
That's my thing.
I don't think there's a clear definition of which channel in this case. Which makes this a very.
I think Mr. Fuller's position is that he wasn't in the channel. That's why Mr. Fuller issued the permit the way that it is. He said the channel ended further, closer towards the bridge. And then the petitioners have said to you, well, they disagree that that's where the channel ends. They think the channel extends beyond his dock. So Mr. Fuller.
I'm agreeing with what he said.
I don't think that's what Mr. Fuller said. I think he said he wasn't in the dredge.
I think Mr. Bowers said if it were.
Okay.
Mr. Bowers talked about the 25% rule that Bethany spoke to elaborate.
I'm about the 16%.
But that'll be a determination the DEP will make at their final hearing.
Yeah.
But as far as his decision, at the time where he made a decision, I can't disagree with the decision that he made because that's the evidence he had at that time. Now, if DEP comes in September and they say something different, that's no bearing on Michael's decision.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
And so the petitioners have said to you that Mr. Fuller didn't have all of the proper evidence before him. And so they've presented that today to say this is what it should have been. Mr. Fuller has said, well, I've considered all of that and here we are. So that's where your rub was that you were just describing.
Yep.
Do I have a motion?
Wow.
So it's either a motion to affirm or a motion to deny.
Only based on the limited scope that we have and based on the information we had today, I'm voting to affirm Michael Fuller's decision and leave it to DEP, unfortunately, for you all to pursue.
So it's a motion to affirm uphold Mr. Fuller's decision.
Do I have a second?
Is there a second?
Well, next together to the vice. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. To affirm.
Motion to affirm Mr. Fuller's decision is on the table. So if you'll call the roll.
Board Member Carroll.
Yes.
Board Member Stamps.
Yes.
Board Member Barker.
Yes.
Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Chairman Dubauer.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. All right. So the decision of the board was to affirm Mr. Fuller's decision to release or to rescind the stop work order. And I will prepare a written order for the chairman to sign that affirms that. And when that order is signed by the chairman, you will then have 30 days to appeal the decision. I will let you know it may be less than that. And that appeal is to the circuit court.
All right. And this brings us to the audience participation portion of our agenda. Seeing none. Meeting is adjourned.